This is a exercise or a project in developing a logo or a symbol for an event. In this case, it's a bicycle race, the 2010 Tour of the Americas, a bicycle race that would probably go from Canada to Mexico through across the United States from June 2nd to June 27th. So that's a number of days that it would take for this group of bicycle people to go from through Canada down to Mexico. Now, the bicycle that I have pictured here comes from Photoshop, and to get that bicycle in this picture, I have formulated a picture of a bike, a heavy-duty road bike with gears and handlebars and all kinds of things for a long race. And in this case, it's come from Photoshop with no background. I've just opened it in Illustrator, and it sits there with a picture of the bike and no background. By hitting Command C, I've copied this. It was a Photoshop document, but I said open in Illustrator, and there it is. When I go back to my original page, I've already got one there, but here comes Command V. The it pastes itself in there, and it comes a little large. I've reduced it down, but here it is, and it does not have a background. And we'll see that later on how to prepare photographs in Photoshop that would come back to Illustrator, but that's it. Now I'm going to delete that one because I already have it here. I've reduced it down in size a little bit so that it's not quite so large. I want this bicycle to be the center of my symbol or logo or representation of this race. It's going to appear on posters and in print and on television and websites and wherever this is going to be. Now it's got to say 2000 Tour of the Americas and June 2002 to 27 on there, and I want to use circular lettering for this. Now, circular lettering, we've seen this before, but I want to put this together now in this project. I've got a crosshair here, middle guideline, and a guideline here. There's the center point of reference. And the first thing I'm going to do to get this circular lettering going is I'm going to make a no stroke and no fill circle. And I come here to the center point of reference and hold the shift and the option key down and click a circle. Now, the type has to clear the bicycle. I can move the bike around a little bit, but I'm going to go to that spot, and I've got a clear piece there. I'm going to select in my character, I'm going to select the font, and I'm going to use Impact. It's a heavy font, narrow characters, and good for just straight lettering. And then it's regular, and it only comes regular in this case, so there's no bold because it's bold to start with. I want to make sure my paragraph is centered so that when I put them in here I have it centered, and you'll see why. And 20 points, maybe a little larger than that. I can always reduce it or enlarge it, so I'll just go there, and I'm going to then take my text tool on a path, this text tool, the T that's on a tipped path. I want that tool because I'm going to use this in my connect these things to a round circle rather than a straight line. The path here is a circle. Now if I click with my I-beam with a little curly mark on it right on the top there at the 12 o'clock position, for some reason it's really wonderful the way this Illustrator works. It shows up on the bottom. So I'm going to make sure it's all caps by putting on my caps lock. And if I back up and I do that and I click on the bottom, watch, it'll show up at the top. That blinking cursor is where the type's going to go. And since I balanced it, it's going to go from the center out, and it'll work. Now 2010 Tour of the is the top frame there. So I've got my caps lock on, so I'm going to go 2010 Tour of the, and the Americas is going to go across the bottom here. All right, now I've got some space to deal with here. I'm going to take hold of tour, click, 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 and now notice down here it's 0 as far as overall kerning. I'm going to hold down the Option key and the right arrow, and that's going to push the kern, or the space between each of these letters, so that it spreads out. I can go quite a ways in the spread, and I want the 2 on the one side and the E of the on the other side to be at about the 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock position if we're talking o'clock. And I've got it out to 160, and I'm going to remember that for the Americas across the bottom. Now, the word Americas, I have to take this circle that I've made, I'm going to make a copy of it and bring it out here. And then I'm going to click on the top here, click, 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 and it's backlights all of it. And I'm going to then type in, and it will delete the words and put in Americas. Now, it's on the top, it needs to be on the bottom, down here at the 6 o'clock position. It's at the 12. So I'm going to grab this handle right here, and I'm going to bring it inside, and I'm going to turn it around until it rests on the bottom, and my arrow comes about to the 6 o'clock position so that it balances the word Americas. You see how the arrow is right above the 6 o'clock position, and Americas is now upside, it's right reading, but it's inside of that circle. Now I let go of my mouse, and I've got Americas. The trouble is, it has to be outside of the circle, because 2010 is outside, and to get the thing right, it has to be outside when it's hanging down here. This is where that baseline shift comes in. It's selected, and it's 0. Now I'm going to go down, minus, and I'm just going to keep clicking on that minus until Americas lines up as if it was close, hanging on the line. So that there comes Americas, the A's now just touching. So that's how I want that to be. Now remember, it's like having 2 plates. This is the first plate, and if you're writing on with a black felt tip pen on a white picnic plate, paper plate, you're going to have another paper plate with a hole in it right in the middle. You're going to put it in the bottom, and in doing that, I'm going to take this guy and put him right back in that center point of reference right there. And you can see that I'm lining it up with the 2010 because the circle fits. The circles are invisible. They're there to control the type, but they are invisible. So now I have tour of the 2010 tour of the Americas across the bottom. And America, when I click on that, it's 160. Why? Because I copied it from the one that was already 160. Remember, I made a copy and then I put more letters into it, and there that came. All right, so now I've got the 2010 tour of the Americas, and I have one more line of type to put in here, the June 2 to 27. So another circle, I'll deselect all that, another invisible circle, and come back here to the center, and click and roll and get it about there. Now, the June numbers are going to go on the bottom of the bicycle tires. So there's that. Now I'm going to take my text tool on a slant. Remember, if I click it at the top, it goes to the bottom. And I don't want 48 this time. I want it smaller. Let's go like to 24. And it's still balanced. The paragraph is balanced in the middle. All right, so now I'm going to say, all caps again, J-U-N-E, June 2 to 27. All right, problem is I've got 2 things going wrong here. I'm upside down, and you see the baseline shift is minus 37 where I left it. So I'm going to go back here and go to 0. And that brings the baseline shift there. But it's outside the circle. It's upside down. So take that little handle right here. See, there's a blue line right there. I'm going to click on that and just drag it back up inside. And it now switches over and is sitting on the inside here. And that's okay. There's nothing to match it with. I don't have to really drop it down. I guess I could take up some more space here. Let's see if I do. -1. Let's see. I'm going to drop it down. Well, maybe about that much. I don't want to get too close, and I don't want to get too close to the Americas or too close to the bike. Now it's a little cramped in there, so again, Option key down and right arrow, and it pushes the kern further apart, and I can spread it out from almost like from tire to tire. So now I have June 2nd to, maybe that's a little too wide. Let's come back with a left arrow and there. That's looking better. Okay, so now I've got my type in place. There's any number of additional decorative things that you can do with your version of this. I'm going to show you a few things. Maybe you can use them or not, but this works out to be the start. Now remember, these letters are still type on a path. Right away I'm going to change that. I'm going to come in here and select the top one, and looks like I've got the other one as well. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go up here to type, create outlines, and well, everything was selected. See, everything turned to outlines, and that's good. I want that to be that way. Matter of fact, I want to make sure that this top one, hold the shift key down, in Americas, I don't have June yet. These two are separate entities. They're grouped as they came in the package with characters, but not grouped to each other. But now I've got them both by selecting the top one and holding the shift key down and selecting the bottom one. Here, Command G, group them together. And then this one is grouped together. Now, see, they're no longer on the path. They are centered on the guidelines, but they're not on the path anymore. And that's good, because perhaps I'm going to play with these letters or send them to another computer that doesn't have Helvetica or impact on it, and that could be a problem. All right, now other decorative things. I could take a colored circle and put this in the middle, shift and option down, and pull a circle that comes almost a tour of the, or I could go beyond that and put it out here like this, and put it, make it orange. Let's see, swatches. I'll make it a reddish orange and put it in the back. Command Shift left bracket. And oops, I've just noticed something. I brought something over that wasn't truly separated. Why wasn't that separated? There's my bike thing. Command C, I just copied it. Let's go back here and put it on. Command V, paste it. And it's thinking about it. Think. I think it's thinking. Let's see what's coming up. All right. Okay, there's the bike. You know, the first time I brought this over, I wasn't paying attention, and it had the background attached. The second one that I brought over, that I worked in Photoshop, did have the background peeled away. Now I need to get that a little smaller. Shift and option, let's bring it down in size, and then renegotiate this to fit inside of the letters and stuff. Okay, that works pretty well. The thing I'm looking at is the handlebars coming up here between the tour and that sort of thing. Let's see if I can get the bike just a little bit bigger, but still not mess up the handlebar thing going on there. That's, tires are touching, that's a little too large there. I could tilt the bike just a little bit because the front tire is a little higher, so let's tilt it forward, or just rotate it in place. That looks better. And then my tires are about even to the letters. The handlebar is not touching any letter, and I could come down just a touch with the arrow here and maybe back it off just a bit. I'm getting close to that 2 there, but I'm still separating there, and that works. Okay, now the tour of the 2010, I can select that and the bottom one and just say, maybe I don't want them black, maybe I want them white. Or let's make them a light tan. There has to be something that contrasts through there. And let's see, white. I'm not thrilled with white, but I could live with it. The June one, I could make that, let's see. Let's go with the orange there. That's hard to read. I might have to change that background from that darker orange, maybe to a lighter one. Then I can come in here with darker letters so that they are more contrast. Well, words to that effect, or colors to that effect. You can play with that if you want to. Now, this is what I want you to do, is to use the bike, use the 2010 Tour of the Americas, June Tour of the, and put it together in such a way that it's beginning to show your ability to make the um, circular letters in a design, and then place them together so the elements begin to work, and then choose colors and choose things that makes it work for you. Let me show you a couple of other examples. Now, this is where you have to go. It's where I went on a couple of looks at this, and I want you to use the elements I've given you to your best advantage, but to get this circular thing happening, here's the second one I did with the bike. Here's the first round, and here's the second round with a little more design to it. There's the bike. There's an orange rectangle behind it, and I took the Tour of the Americas and actually circled this rear wheel using the center of the wheel as the center of my circles. I made Tour of the, and I backed it off a little bit. It's not level, but it's coming into the bike seat post here, and it's backing off a little bit. And in Americas, there's a good split here, so I can read it and split it. And then June 2nd to 17, well, should be 27, but it doesn't matter. And 2010 AD. I added AD just because I needed more space there. 2010 right there, there's not enough space to match what's going on over there. So I'm having the Tour of the Americas circling the back tire and the date and 2010 AD on the front tire. And I could probably talk my client into that, just to say, look, I need some more letters. And 2010, there's only 4 characters. I need some more. Now, with that, then, I've added in this, I've changed the color of black to blue. I've given it a little outline of orange. The background it's now got a gradient going from orange to red to light brown. I put a whole ring of squares in there, all of the quilt thing, and had the gradient that's going here from light to top is going from top to bottom the other way on those squares, and they're of course behind the bicycle. And so the letters have they're blue and they have an orange background, which gives it that a little more standout. So here's a simple version of that, and here's a little more action going on with color and shapes to it. The third one I have here is the 2010 Tour of the Americas, June 2nd to 22nd. I put the bicycle here. There's a circle with a gradient going from light to dark. I have a ring circle here that I made with a stroke and built it up to 8 points, I think it is, and then went to object, path, outline, stroke, and turned it in from a stroke to a circle. And the reason I did that is that there wasn't much definition behind the handlebars here, and I needed some light back there to show up the things that are sitting on the handlebars. And that ring in there helps to separate some of that. And it's got the gradient going from light to dark this way, where it's light to dark the other way on the background. June 2nd to 27th is white, and it's on the ring. It's actually a little bigger than the ring, but it sits there. Tour of the Americas is all one group of, well, actually, I guess there are 2 groups. But they do have a gray background, and the whole thing has a blue background. Now, with this circle here, I actually added these 3 rectangles. I made an invisible circle that comes from the center and came out to here on these rectangles. And then I used the divide button, selected the invisible circle and these 3 rectangles and the divide button, and actually cut them in a circle and took away the outer edges here that I cut off. And then I joined these 3 rectangles with that back circle, gave it a gradient. I took the letters and the shape and made it all one gray background, and then I made a second background of blue. So, and I've actually added a little drop shadow to it to give it a little punch away from the background. So if this is printed on a white piece of paper, you have some shading going off in the background. That can be found. I actually took the blue background and made a copy of it and gave it a shadow by using the effect stylized drop shadow, and it actually put Um, if I preview that, you'll see the drop shadow come to this one. This is the first one, that is the blue background. But I'm going to show you. I made another one and put it behind this one, so the shadow was attached to a second and similar color, so that if I didn't like it, I could take it away. Sometimes in Illustrator it's hard to take the shadow away without just getting the whole thing. But see, there's that shadow attaching itself now to this blue background. There is another blue background that's a little harder to pull out that has this shadow attached to it. I just slid underneath and lined it up. I'm going to cancel that and actually Command Z, put that back in place. And so the shadow is coming from the second blue outline that's exactly behind the first one. And the shadow is attached to the second one, and it's showing beyond the edge. If I wanted to get rid of it, I'd have to separate the two blue backgrounds. Remember, there's a gray background, then a blue one, and a second blue one that has the drop shadow attached. Okay, so that's another version of putting this together. Let me remind you with that first one, if I wanted to put a guide to this or background to this, the tour of the Americas, I select it. Remember, it's all now one unit. With the Option key, I pull a copy off. I make the stroke the same color as this blue. I go to my stroke and I make sure that the rounded end and joint is selected, and then I start kicking up the thickness of it. I don't want to get too thick, but I want to give it an edge. Now I've gotten to 9. Let's go to 10 points, and then the object, the path, the outline stroke, and you see all the geometry here. Finger on the Command key and melt this all together. And then bring this forward and say, let's have this to be black. It doesn't have to be gray. I'm just going to go gray for now, and then we can change it later on. And it has to go then behind the blue and in front of the yellow. Now if I put this here, you can see it's in front of the blue. So I'm going to select not only the gray, hold the Shift key down and select the yellow disc and put those in the back. Command Shift left bracket. They both went back. But because this one's in front of the yellow one, it's going to be in front of the yellow but behind the blue. And now I'll move this over and set these in place. And now I can begin to play with the colors. You know, do I want to have it gray? Do I want to have it, you know, something else? I want my colors to contrast and be of interest. I could begin to introduce gradients, but I just wanted to remind you of how to make that shadow thing work for the major letters here. So you'll find the Tour 1, the Tour 2, or the Tour 3 in the folder for this movie. It comes with this movie, and the racing bike out of the Photoshop will be there so that you open it in Illustrator, and then Command A selects the whole picture. There's no background to it. Then you go back to your picture that you want to put it on and hit Command you hit Command C to copy it, and then Command V will paste it on this page. So you can do with that circular lettering routine to make this logo or symbol for this bike race.